Hi Matrix, welcome to your very first session of online English lessons for the lockdown period. So what we have here will be information for Wednesday, Thursday and Friday of week 1 of our lockdown. Believe it or not, I really am missing all of you. I'm missing my classroom, I'm missing all the personalities. And I'd like to reassure you that I'm here to help you in any way that I possibly can, whether it's English or something else, I really don't mind. You can contact me via Edmodo, via Zoom, via email, and some of you even have my WhatsApp number. If you're in trouble in any way, if you just want to chat, if you feel like you're drowning, send me a shout out and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you are going to make use of Zoom, just make an arrangement with me, download the app in advance, and we can have some screen time together. And if a few of you would like to do Zoom together, we can do that as well. This week, you're going to be focusing on the narrative essay task. I posted the task sheet on Edmodo on the 24th of March. Many of you have already started. Thank you for that. I've already received some drafts. Michael, BK, you were first out of the starting blocks. Well done. You will also need pen and paper for brainstorming, planning, writing, scribbling down your thoughts, and of course a dictionary or a thesaurus. If you have an online one, that's perfectly adequate. You don't need your Oxford one at all. While we are working on the dystopian essay task this week, I would like you also to be looking out for cartoons for your cat task. It doesn't have to be a lot of cartoons, but I'd like you to look for something that is interesting, is different, that conveys the cartoonist's message in a particular way. Don't worry too much about the cat task. That's all under control. We'll be getting into that after we've done some work on the dream house. But it is good if you just keep an eye out for interesting cartoons and memes for that matter. Next week we'll be doing the dream house, so make sure you have everything ready for that. But as I said, this week it's the dystopian narrative. Today I would like you to spend a little bit of time on understanding what dystopian fiction is all about. There is a video clip that I would like you to watch. It is available on YouTube. I would like you to brainstorm your essay and do your outline, your planning. Tomorrow, Thursday, I would like you to continue with your essay plan and to actually write a first draft. On Friday, you will edit your draft, revise your writing, and when you think it's pretty good, you'll email it to me following, of course, please, pretty please, all the instructions about submissions on page 2 of the task sheet. Now, I know that the deadline for drafts is late in April. I think it's the 24th. Remember, I always tell you, beat the deadlines. The sooner you get it into me, the sooner you get feedback. What is dystopian fiction? I think most of you have a fairly good idea because many of you do watch and read dystopian fiction and movies. You can think of something like The Hunger Games or The Maze Runner, if you've read Gone by Michael Grant. If you're watching the current series on Mnet called Noughts and Crosses, you will have already been introduced to dystopia. Of course, dystopia is the opposite of utopia. You will remember that from one of last year's terms on Tuesday, where utopia is a world of perfection. Dystopia is then obviously the opposite. Now, on your task sheet on pages 3 and 4, there is an outline of what you're expected to do, what you are supposed to write about. Not the topics, but just the general feel of dystopian fiction. So pause the video, turn to pages 3 and 4 and have a look there at what I have given to you. On page 3 you will see pretty discrete instructions on what you are to write, while page 4 gives you more background information. Please take time to watch the video, which will appear on the next slide, which is available on TED Talks. The link is given to you in this slide. I will also post it separately on Edmodo for those of you who are struggling with technology.
Have you ever tried to picture an ideal world, one without war, poverty, or crime? If so, you're not alone. Plato imagined an enlightened republic ruled by philosopher kings. Many religions promise bliss in the afterlife. And throughout history, various groups have tried to build paradise on Earth. Thomas More's 1516 book, Utopia, gave this concept a name, Greek for no place. Though the name suggested impossibility, modern scientific and political progress raised hopes of these dreams finally becoming reality. But time and time again, they instead turned into nightmares of war, famine, and oppression. And as artists began to question utopian thinking, the genre of dystopia, the not good place, was born. One of the earliest dystopian works is Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels. Throughout his journey, Gulliver encounters fictional societies, some of which at first seem impressive, but turn out to be seriously flawed. On the flying island of Laputa, scientists and social planners pursue extravagant and useless schemes while neglecting the practical needs of the people below. And the Huinum, who live in perfectly logical harmony, have no tolerance for the imperfections of actual human beings. With his novel, Swift established a blueprint for dystopia, imagining a world where certain trends in contemporary society are taken to extremes, exposing their underlying flaws. And the next few centuries would provide plenty of material. Industrial technology that promised to free laborers imprisoned them in slums and factories instead, while tycoons grew richer than kings. By the late 1800s, many feared where such conditions might lead. H.G. Wells' The Time Machine imagined upper classes and workers evolving into separate species, while Jack London's The Iron Heel portrayed a tyrannical oligarchy ruling over impoverished masses. The new century brought more exciting and terrifying changes. Medical advances made it possible to transcend biological limits, while mass media allowed instant communication between leaders and the public. In Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, citizens are genetically engineered and conditioned to perform their social roles. While propaganda and drugs keep the society happy, it's clear some crucial human element is lost. But the best-known dystopias were not imaginary at all. As Europe suffered unprecedented industrial warfare, new political movements took power. Some promised to erase all social distinctions, while others sought to unite people around a mythical heritage. The results were real-world dystopias, where life passed under the watchful eye of the state, and death came with ruthless efficiency to any who didn't belong. Many writers of the time didn't just observe these horrors, but lived through them. In his novel We, Soviet writer Yevgeny Zamyatin described a future where free will and individuality were eliminated. Banned in the USSR, the book inspired authors like George Orwell, who fought on the front lines against both fascism and communism. While his novel Animal Farm directly mocked the Soviet regime, the classic 1984 was a broader critique of totalitarianism, media, and language. And in the USA, Sinclair Lewis's It Can't Happen Here envisioned how easily democracy gave way to fascism. In the decades after World War II, writers wondered what new technologies like atomic energy, artificial intelligence, and space travel meant for humanity's future. Contrasting with popular visions of shining progress, dystopian science fiction expanded to films, comics, and games. Robots turned against their creators, while TV screens broadcast deadly mass entertainment. Workers toiled in space colonies above an Earth of depleted resources and overpopulated, crime-plagued cities. Yet politics was never far away. Works like Dr. Strangelove and Watchmen explored the real threat of nuclear war, while V for Vendetta and The Handmaid's Tale warned how easily our rights could disappear in a crisis. And today's dystopian fiction continues to reflect modern anxieties about inequality, climate change, government power, and global epidemics. So why bother with all this pessimism? Because at their heart, dystopias are cautionary tales, not about some particular government or technology, but the very idea that humanity can be molded into an ideal shape. Think back to the perfect world you imagined. Did you also imagine what it would take to achieve? How would you make people cooperate? And how would you make sure it lasted? Now take another look. Does that world still seem perfect?
Gosh, after watching that video clip, I'm sure that you'll agree with me that we are living in something of a dystopian world already. Donald Trump, the coronavirus, it's all happening. Please turn to page 6 of your handout. There you'll see I've given you a number of topics. Please go through them and see if there's any one that resonates with you, and that will give you an idea of what kind of essay you will be writing. It covers all sorts of things: adults leaving the world, despotic governments, zombies, please not too many zombies, and find something that tickles your fancy. If there's nothing on that page, then have a look at the other page in the handout where I've given you some summaries of novels, of dystopian novels, and maybe there's something there that inspires you. Once you've got an idea of what you would like to write about, please turn to page 7, where I've given you a very basic template for the planning of your essay. And you can jot down on that page an idea of your setting, of your protagonist, who's your main character going to be, he, she, possibly it, and what's the main conflict going to be in your essay. When you've got that, try and think of what the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story will look like. What you're doing is painting with very broad brush strokes. You're not worrying about the details. You're just trying to cement the outline of your story. You'll fill in the details later. When you've got that done, then you turn to pages 8, 9, and 10 of your handout, and you read all the advice, the tips that I've given you there for writing a successful narrative essay. By the beginning of tomorrow's lesson, Thursday, I would like you to have 100% decided on setting, character, conflict, and you must have a very, very clear idea of what the main events of the plot are going to be. Thursday, time to write your first draft, and this is where the hard work starts. I always tell you that magical muse is not going to arrive and sit down next to you and whisper inspiring words into your ear. It doesn't happen. You have to do the hard work, word after word after word, on your page or on your screen. You've got to start writing. It's as simple as that. By tomorrow, you must have written one rough draft. Today's work is getting the story in sequence on the page. Don't worry too much about the grammar, the language errors. That will focus on tomorrow. Concentrate on getting the story down and see if you can get it into your 500-600 word limit as prescribed by the IEB. Friday. So after yesterday's hard work of writing, it's time for you to read through what you have written, hopefully after a good night's sleep. When you come back to your work with a clear head and untired brain cells, it often feels very different to when you were first writing it. Does it still make sense to you? Is it the story that you started, or has the story taken control of you? Wherever sections need to be reworked, that's what you need to pay attention to today. And today, you look at all the grammar errors, the spelling errors. Spell check is your friend. Remember, we always go for British spelling, not American spelling. Ask someone to read through your essay for you. I hope you're still on speaking terms with everyone in your house who's on lockdown with you. Find someone who is in need of 5 minutes quiet time, give them your draft, and ask for their honest, sincere feedback. Once you've revised and edited that, it's ready to send to me. You know the drill: Word document, wide margins, double spacing, Arial font size 12. In other words, read the instructions. I have every faith in you. I look forward to receiving your first drafts. If you have any questions for me, whether it's about the essay or anything else, please don't hesitate to ask. Do not use your other subject time to contact me, but I'm available pretty much as I would be during term time, so from the morning till the evening, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. All right, get writing.